Welcome to the App Showcase, where we review Microsoft-related apps primarily from the App Store, but also through trial versions. SV MacPack is a certified veteran-owned and HUBZone consulting firm supporting primarily the U.S. federal government. In support of our customers' need to do market research on apps such as these, we started reviewing them via video. We hope these reviews help you as well. In this video, we'll be reviewing ICLServices OrgChart, the app from the Microsoft Store. As always, I'll move fast, pointing out what I like and what would make me hesitate to recommend this app to my customers. My goal is to be as candid as I would if just talking to my own team about this app. Hopefully the review helps you and perhaps even provides good feedback to the publisher of this app. Let's go ahead and get started. So I'm sitting on the Microsoft Store page, and I take a look at things pretty quickly from left to bottom right. And so up here, one of the first things I notice is there's no ratings, no stars. It's not necessarily a bad thing. Probably they've been up there and no one has found them among the thousands of other apps that are out there. Going with the stars, you've got reviews, so I'll click in there and I see that there's no reviews. So no one else has reviewed this app yet for the Microsoft Store. Here we go. We get to be first, at least on YouTube. Coming down, pricing. Anybody who does these videos with me enough will begin to hear me say that free is not free. It's an evaluation copy almost always. Free is when I get it for nothing else. If there's a catch, then there's a catch, and that catch is usually a price. Coming down, one of the next things I really track on for these reviews is the version. It's version 1.0. That means they haven't done anything since they uploaded this in March. There's no updates. It tells me they didn't find any bugs or things that need to be fixed, and no one recommended that. Generally, that's pretty odd, but that's a concern for me because I like to see the versions increasing. It means they're adding features or fixing bugs, etc. And then the last thing I look for on the left-hand side as I'm coming down is the support page. So I'm going to go ahead and open it up in a new tab, and we'll see if that guy comes up in a minute. I'll wait for it to load. As I'm coming over here, I'm looking at the content to see what the description of this app and see what's in here. I do like how it describes you can use HTML. That means they're putting some of the control into your hands. It's not just having to go back to the original developers to get things changed. That's really handy. It's also pretty good. It allows you to kind of reach out. Sounds like they got a farm solution, so this is definitely an older app that they're kind of probably repurposing up. The rest of it's missing. The part that I would like to see is clear list of features. When I'm creating a new app, I have an acceptance criteria that I'm looking for, and really it's just a feature list. What can it do? I'd like to see that in these descriptions if anybody's actually listening. And then the last thing I look for on this page is I just see the images they have. We're going to pop in there in a second, but I like that I can add colors to the different people. That's always interesting to me. This is a traditional up and down org chart. Doesn't look like there's a lot of flexibility on that, which is fine. But one thing I do see is it's got these blue, I'm hoping hyperlinks. If it does, that'll be pretty cool because it allows me to click on it and do something with it. Okay, and so we'll get into this. These are the admin pages. Let's go ahead and check out that support page they sent us to. And this is not a support page. This page is just sending us to if you want to use their services, etc. So it doesn't look like there's a dedicated support page there. If they have one, they'd want to just update that. I'm going to go ahead and close that. And so we were on the org chart for Microsoft. I'm going to pop over to my site collection where I've already uploaded it or added the app. It's right here, ICLServices OrgChart. So I'll click on it. By the way, one of the things I like is that you can see basically when I'm doing this review. So as it gets older on YouTube, you might be looking at it. You just look at that date timestamp. I don't have to say it, but you pretty much can tell it's the end of 2017. So again, coming with the top left to the bottom right, first thing I notice is this huge thing it's hyperlinked. Oh, and I hate this. So I just clicked on this and this title bar, and it instantly took me over to their website. Most of my customers are federal government, but even on the commercial side, I can't imagine that inside their environment they would want their users to have a link that just sends them external like that. That's not the idea of an app. To me, the app should be, if I'm buying it and making it my organization's, then it shouldn't be sending me somewhere else. Now, if somewhere secretly they allow me to hyperlink that to an internal site, then I change my whole opinion. I say it's great because they're just using it as an example. But at the moment, I don't see where I'm going to be able to do that. Okay, let's go ahead. I see the user guide. I've already kind of walked through this once myself, and I brought up the user guide over here. You'll notice that it's got 12 pages. It looks fairly thorough. As we go through, that's the basic intro that we saw on the home page of their sites. Okay, so now it's walking through just the basics of how to add a web part, how to begin to make changes in here, and looking at some of this stuff. So choose SharePoint list from list name in the combo box. It's be interesting to see how this works out. But it's pretty straightforward. Okay, it talks about some of the other features. That's interesting how you can add your own tool tips. I'm not sure. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, that's pretty cool. They give you that capability. We'll take a look at that. All right, well, that's the user guide. I would say it's an acceptable thumbs up user guide because often people don't even have a user guide, so I'm ecstatic that they have it. And it looks like a good user guide that can help us. Let's go ahead and move back to their tool. So here's the directions for this, and I'm just kind of following this. So clearly, just by clicking on it, I don't get to my org chart. I have to do something else. Okay, so it's telling me I've got to add this app to the web part, to the page. So let me just go back to my SharePoint site, go to the home page, and add the web part here. I'm going to go up and add an app. Oh, sorry. Wrong thing there. I want to edit the page and add an app. That's funny that you can add an app or add a part. Let me do that. ICLServices, there it is. Let me go ahead and add that guy wherever it's going to add. Okay, clearly we got it on the top, so that'll give us a lot of visibility. I think we're good. I'm going to save the page. Let's see if it leaves that edit functionality. Okay, it does. So I'm going to see how intuitive this is. Let's edit the chart, so let's follow that. All right, I'm clicking on this, and one of the biggest things I look for in any app, it's got to be intuitive. Yes, a user guide is helpful, but really they're old-fashioned. People don't really want to look at a user guide. They want to be able to get in, do what they need to do, and get out. So an org chart to me seems like it should be really straightforward. I can click on create a new org chart. I say, Neil's the head of the HR department. Here's my direct reports. Here's their direct reports, and voila, I got a org chart. So I'm looking at this, and I'm not really clear about any of this stuff. One thing that could be really handy is one of those little info icons next to every one of these fields, so I could click on it and get some in-app help. That would take a sophisticated tool like this and actually make it a little easier for me to understand. So it's telling me to connect to whatever site I want, and that is my demo site, the app showcase. Choosing the list name app data. It's funny, I actually think those relate to a different app, a different org chart that I reviewed. So one of the things that would be great on these hidden lists is if people would actually name them a little more logically or intuitively again, so that people can later on know what they're looking at. I don't see any ICL stuff. So I'm going to go back really quick to my page here. It says add the web part page, add the app to the page, customize the app part with the settings page. And I'm assuming the settings is right here. Create a list in SharePoint that contains structure used for the future org chart. And if I click on the sample app, okay, well, there's a sample data. And it's called demo list, and the URL is demo list. So I'm not sure why here I'm not seeing that. So really all I can tell is that maybe I'm supposed to create the list, but it's already starting to frustrate me pretty heavily. This item, parent ID, things like that, those are super confusing. Really, I mean, this shouldn't require an admin, because one of the things I'm looking for when I review apps for my customers is not just how intuitive it is, but total cost of ownership. The last thing the director of IT or CIO or somebody wants is to have an app come into their organization that's going to increase the support requirements coming out of his subject matter experts like level 2 or level 3 folks And also they're not looking for people to be contacting the help desk more. An app should actually be so easy to use that people are just thanking IT, and IT is not required to increase their activity around it. So this thing, I can instantly see it's really confusing. I mean, we're not just talking, I'm not reviewing this just for technical users. When I'm talking about a business user, the average business user is not going to be able to figure this stuff out. I'm a power user, if not a SharePoint expert, and I'm looking at this thing a little confused. When I look at the parent ID, I'm assuming this is pulling back into some field that's going to be who's my boss in the org chart or something. The only thing that's intuitive on this really is the number of levels, 4, which I just typed a number and nothing's, oh, there it is. That's pretty intuitive, and site URL is pretty intuitive. I would say list name's intuitive, but it's not because I don't know what I'm supposed to do with it. So this part, I'm still at a loss to figure out even how to set up a chart, let alone configure it. Here's some interesting things. So I'm kind of, because of my experience, I understand a general direction of what they're doing. And I would say none of this is intuitive to the average user, but it is pretty cool. I do like how they give more sophisticated users the ability to begin to change, edit some of this down here, which allow them to give a different look and feel to the actual box. And similar over here, they could probably do tooltips and change what's in there and make it look different. That's pretty cool how they do that. But let me just hit save for a second. I, at the moment, have no clue how to create an org chart on this thing, and maybe the plus sign does it. Nothing happened. I'm assuming that's for the Zoom, right? So I'm just going to wrap this guy up because this is as far as I'm concerned, this is a thumbs down for sure. And number one reason why it's thumbs down is the intuitiveness is not there throughout everything. Whether I'm looking at the settings kind of activity, but nowhere in here do I see how I can create an org chart. So whoever the publisher is on this, I would recommend they kind of go back to the drawing board a little bit and make this a lot easier. A couple of key buttons that just is like click here to add a chart, click here to add a person. That's what we as users are looking for. I don't want to beat it up too much, but as a recap, I'm recommending you skip this app until the publisher addresses the concerns I mentioned. I hope you found this review useful as you evaluate various apps available to you and your organization. Please go ahead and provide me with feedback in the comments, letting me know how I can make the App Showcase channel and reviews more useful to you. Feel free to even suggest apps I could review later, and we'll get them on the schedule. Finally, if you found this review helpful, please share it with others. I'm your host, Neil McDonnell with SV MacPack. I thank you for joining me today, and I hope you'll join me again for other reviews.